Okay, good morning everyone, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday morning as we are studying together Parashat Vayishlah. Of course, our parasha deals with the encounter of Yaakov and his brother Esav, the final encounter, at least according to whatever we read. It's the last time that they meet. They do meet on the day of death as well. When Yaakov dies, he meets Esav again. But that wasn't in person. That was in person, but they weren't alive. You know the story where Esav comes to stop the burial of Yaakov. But at least as far as we're concerned, this is the last time that they meet alive. But I would like to actually talk today about another story in the parasha, because the parasha does have other things that it talks about this week. And it's about today, I want to talk about the abduction of Dina. Dina, we know Yaakov Avinu had 12 boys, and he also had one girl. The pasuk says, let's read the story first. Vatetze Dina bat Leah asher yaleda leYaakov. Dina started going out. That was the first problem, by the way. Our rabbis point out she was yatzanit. For whatever the standard and the norm was at the time, she was a little bit too going out. Yatzanit haita. She was not modest, according to whatever was the standard. And that's why the pasuk calls her Vatetze Dina bat Leah. It calls her the daughter of Leah as opposed to the daughter of Yaakov, because she was not acting like Yaakov by going out. She was being immodest. Well, and her mother Leah also, Vatetze Leah likrato. You know, like mother, like daughter. Leah went out to greet Yaakov. And Dina here goes out. She goes out just to tour. She wants to see the land. She wants to see what's going on. Well, Vayarota Shechem ben Hamor. This kid Shechem, sees her. Vayikach ota vayishkav ota vayanea. And he has his way with her, and he afflicts her. And Rashi writes, naturally and unnaturally, both types of acts. Vatidbak nafsho bedina bat Yaakov. And now his soul clings to her. Vayehavet, he likes her. Vaydaber, and he starts talking to her, gets into her head. Vayomer Shechem el Hamor aviv. Shechem goes to his dad, who's very, very important. Kahli et hayalda hazot leisha. He says, Dad, I want to marry this girl. Yaakov shama ki temet Dina bito. Yaakov overheard that his daughter unfortunately was defiled. Vehirish Yaakov et Boam. And Yaakov didn't want to say anything because he knew that if his kids find out, they're going to be upset. Yaakov was also upset, but Yaakov was older. Yaakov had more wisdom. He saw the bigger picture. He knew his kids were young. Usually when people are young, they're hotheads. They want to change. They want to do. They're radical. And you see interesting statistics. As people get older, they become more conservative in their values, in their approach to life. Ubnei Yaakov ba'u min hasadeh. And now the sons of Yaakov come, and they hear ki nevala asa beIsrael, that this atrocity happened. Vaydaber Hamor itam. Hamor now he speaks up. Remember, Hamor is the father. He speaks up. Shechem beni hashka nafsho bebitechem. He says, my son Shechem, he likes your daughter. Tenuna otalo leisha. Please let him marry her. He's asking for Dina's hand in marriage. Not only for her hand in marriage, but he says, V'yitchatrenu otanu benerberotechem. Tetenu lanu ve'etberotenu tikchu lachem. Not only will she marry into us, but you guys can marry into us. You'll take our daughters, we'll give you outright, we'll give you our sons, whatever you want. Let us have a beautiful, harmonious relationship together. Let's live. You'll dwell. And then Shechem now comes, and he opens his mouth, and he says, please guys, I want to gain favor in your eyes. Whatever your cost, whatever your price. He's a bad businessman. Usually you don't say that when you're negotiating. Usually you try to see what they offer, you come back in the middle. But here he went straight. Whatever you want, the answer is yes. Harbu alai me'od. Much dowry. Whatever you want. All the gifts, you name the price. Vaya'anu b'nei Yaakov. Now, b'nei Yaakov, the sons of Yaakov, speak up. They actually speak in front of their father. This is something that needs to be understood. How could they speak in front of their father? It's not really halachically allowed. It's not respectful. The Rabbeinu Bachir writes, Min hara'ui haya sheyedaber Yaakov. Really, Yaakov should speak. His kids were in front of him. You should keep quiet in the presence of your dad. But seeing that they felt their honor had been besmirched, and they therefore had a vested interest in the matter. Meaning, Rabbeinu Bachir is saying over here, they didn't want their father should speak up because it's embarrassing for their father to have to now negotiate after his daughter was abused. So they decided to spare their fathers the embarrassment of having to speak, so they spoke in his stead. That's how Rabbeinu Bachir explains how they were able to talk. Vayomru alehem, now the sons of Yaakov, they speak, the pasuk says, bemirma. Mirma means with cleverly. And what do they say? Lo nuchal lasot hadavar hazeh. We cannot do this. Latet et achotenu leish asher lo orla. We cannot give our sister to an uncircumcised person. Chirpa hilanu. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. It's a blot on our pedigree if someone is going to be uncircumcised and marry into us. Ach bezod neod. We will consent to you with the following. Im tihiyu kamonu lehimod lachem kol zachar. If you guys will circumcise, then we have a deal. I mean, this is fascinating stuff. They should make a movie out of this, okay? I don't know if anyone here is in Hollywood. This is fantastic storyline. V'natanu et benotenu lachem. And then, if you will circumcise, then you could take our daughters, and we'll take your daughters. If not, lakachnu et bitenu ve'alachnu. We're taking Dina and we're out. Of course, Hamor and Shechem, they like the idea. And he runs to do this agreement. He comes with Shechem, Hamor and Shechem. They speak to the whole city. And they say, guys, we have over here these people that are very whole with us. Shlemim emitanu. Veyeshvu ba'aretz. They're going to dwell here. Veyischaru. They're going to do business. They have money. They're going to give us their money. But they'll only come and live here and give us their money and their children if we circumcise. What do you guys say? Should we all circumcise? Vayishmeu, they all listen to him. You realize how influential Hamor was, that they're all willing to circumcise so that he can marry Dina. And the pasuk tells us, Vayhi bayom hashlishi bihiyatam ko'avim, on the third day when they were in a lot of pain, the third day of circumcision, that is, Vayikhu shnei bnei Yaakov, the sons of Yaakov, Shimon and Levi, Achei Dina, the brothers of Dina, Ish Charbo, they come with their sword, Vayavu la'ir betach, Vayahargu kol zachar. They come, they were positive, they were confident, they wipe out the entire city. Vet Hamor vet Shechem beno hargu lefi harev, Vayikhu et Dina bebet Shechem, Vayetzeu. They killed the entire city. They took all of the spoils, the sheep, the cattle, the donkeys. Vet kol chelam, vet kol tapam, vet neshehem. So really a lot of spoils over here. Vayomer, and let's see how Yaakov reacts. Yaakov says, Vayomer Yaakov el Shimon ve'el Levi, achartem oti. You have disgraced me. You have troubled me. Right? Rashi writes, trouble. Yaakov says, what are you guys doing? Are you out of your minds? You wiped out the whole city? Now you know how much in trouble we're going to be? Now everyone around is watching and they're going to say, oh, look at these Jews. Look at these hotheads. They're causing trouble. And we're small in number. We can't afford to make noise. We got to be low key. Vayomru, the sons respond, Achzona ya'aset achotenu. They respond with one sentence, and the conversation ends there. They said, Dad, our sister should become a prostitute. Boom. End of story, end of conversation, end of chapter. We never see this topic discussed again. And there's a lot going on over here. A lot that we have to understand. First of all, the story, the idea that Dina gets, unfortunately, what happens to her, that she gets abused, is is something that Rashi tells us actually connects to the beginning of the Perashah. You see, when Yaakov Avinu was going to meet his brother Esav, and he's about to make peace, hopefully, the Pasuk says, Vayishlah, go to the beginning, that he takes his 11 children. Okay? Let's see the Pasuk. Vayikach shnei nashav, he takes his two wives, Pasuk 23, chapter 32. He takes his two wives, ve'et shtei shevchotav, his two maidservants, ve'et ahad asar iladav, and his 11 children. Now, let's ask a question, my friends. 11 children. It doesn't say he took his children, he took his 11 children. And it's specifying 11. Now, if we do the math properly, how many kids does Yaakov Avinu have at this point? Huh? Count properly. How many boys does he have? Well, there's 12 tribes, but who's not born yet? Binyamin. So he has 11 sons, and he has a daughter. 11 and 1 is 12. So what does the Pasuk say? He took his 11 children. Now, if you're Syrian, you don't care about the girls, so that's one answer. But that's not what Rashi says. Even though Yaakov, of course, was Syrian. Okay, what does Rashi say? Ve'et ahad hasar yeladav. Rashi asks, Ve'dina hechan hayta. Where was Dina? Natna bateva. He put her in a box. Ve'na'ah b'fanah, he locked it up. Shelo yiten ba Esav enav, so that Esav shouldn't look at her. Yaakov Avinu was worried that Esav may take his daughter. Hey, Yaakov, brother, hook a brother up. You know, what do you think? Me and Dina, you see it happening? And Yaakov didn't want his brother to marry Dina. And Rashi then says something very fantastic. V'lachen ne'enash Yaakov sheman'a me'ahiv shema tahzirenu l'mutav v'nafla b'yad shechem. Rashi says, and you know what was the punishment for Yaakov? From preventing Esav from being able to marry Dina? And if he would have married her, then potentially she could have shaped him up. The punishment to Yaakov was, you want to hide your daughter? Good luck. I'm going to make sure that someone else who's also unworthy sleeps with her and takes her and abuses her. And so Rashi here is saying that Dina is taken really as a punishment. Now, of course, Dina is taken because of what she did. Rashi already told us to what? Yatz'ani taita. And again, whatever that means. But she had her own cause of why she should be taken. She was too outgoing, too flirtatious, whatever the exact issue was. So what is Rashi saying here? That she's punished because her father hid her in a box. But again, this goes back to what we keep talking about. Always Hashem, the Pasuk says, El emunah ve'en avil. When God calculates everyone involved, everyone who's going to be affected by a crisis. So when God is here going to punish Dina for whatever she did wrong, that she's going to be abused, so he has to calculate not only Dina, but also Dina's father. That's also a disgrace to him. What did Yaakov do wrong? And that Rashi is saying, Yaakov did wrong, that he hid her. And why is that something wrong? My friends, wasn't Leah rewarded for not wanting to marry Esav? Doesn't the Pasuk say that she cried and cried and cried? That's why Leah had very soft eyes, or whatever that means. But she had soft eyes because she cried to not marry Esav, and it's seen as a virtue. It's a praise for Leah that she didn't want to marry the wicked man. And now you're punishing Yaakov for not wanting his daughter Dina to marry a wicked man? Why is Leah praised for the very thing that Dina is accused? Good question, no? You're punishing him for not letting Dina marry Esav, but then you praise Leah, and the Pasuk says, And Hashem saw Leah's great deed. What great deed? The fact that she prayed to not marry Esav. So you mean Leah is allowed to pray to not marry Esav, and then when Yaakov hides her from Esav, he's punished? The answer, many answers to this question. Hafetz Chaim says that of course Yaakov is not supposed to give his daughter to Esav, but he's punished because of how he did it. You see, what was Yaakov's inner feeling when he blocks Dina from marrying Esav? Inside, there's always this double standard of what we do and how we're supposed to feel about what we do. Sometimes we have to do something, but it at least should hurt us. As an example, sometimes you have to break up with a girl. She's not the right one for you. And break up you should. But does it hurt you that you're not going to hurt this girl's feelings? Does it put us in pain? Sometimes we have to fire someone. And that's the right thing to do, to fire them. But does it pain us that this is the unfortunate reality? I have to do it and I wish I didn't have to. But at least on the inside it should hurt. Yaakov Avinu, the right thing, don't give Dina to your brother. But did you cry? Do you at least feel bad for your brother that this is the sad reality? I wish I could, but I can't. We should never allow, just because of the actions that we're doing, we shouldn't allow that to numb our emotions. We still have to feel. And so Yaakov Avinu was punished for blocking those emotions from allowing it to enter his heart. That is the answer of the Chafetz Chaim. Comes along Rabbeinu Bachya over here, and he wants to understand, why is Yaakov so upset at his sons? Let's go back to the story. Yaakov says to his sons, "Are you guys out of your mind? Why'd you do that?" Now, did Yaakov not see this coming? Did he not know? We saw it coming. As we're reading the story and they're like, "All right, you guys got to do a circumcision," we're like, "Oh no, they don't. No, don't do it, guys." It's like, when you're like watching a horror movie and don't open that door, there's trouble behind the door, unless it's a plot twist, right? Double reverse sketch. But usually, you see it coming. Yaakov Avinu, come on, man. You didn't know this was going to happen. You didn't realize that this is what your kids were getting at. Did you really think that they meant, sincerely, that if they get a circumcision, then we'll marry into each other? You couldn't see where this was going? This is the question. Let's read the Rabbeinu Bachya over here. Kevan she'anu b'rtzon avihem. Seeing that what the brothers answered was at the advice of their father and with his consent. Lama ka'as al Shimon ve'Levi. Why does he get angry on Shimon and Levi? And he says, "You've achartem oti, you troubled me." Ve'od, furthermore, shlo yitachen nasi bitol k'na'ani asher timeh ota. Yaakov should have known the brothers had no intention of ever giving Dina to Shechem. After what he did, for sure not. He should have known easily that the whole circumcision thing was just a farce. It was a decoy, it was a red herring. All the brothers really were in the same plan. It was just Shimon and Levi levadam asu ma'aseh. It was just Shimon and Levi that executed. But no, he says all the brothers were in tandem. They were all in sync when it came to killing the city, to this plan. Vavihem arar apam lahem levadam. When Yaakov gets angry only on them, when Yaakov is about to die on his deathbed, he says arur apam. He curses their anger. And the Ramban wants to know why. Why is he so angry? They saw this coming. V'hatshuva, and the answer. Ki hamirma hayta. You know where the trickery was over here? Be'omram lehem mo lahem kol zachar. Ki hashvu shelo yasu ken b'nei ha'ir. The mirma, the trickery was, Yaakov never fathomed, number one, that the city would go ahead with it. V'imulai yishme'u lanesi'im. And even if they did, v'yu kulam nemolim. Yaakov said, I know what your plan is. You're going to make them circumcised, and on the third day, when they could do nothing about it, you're going to go and rescue your sister. That was the plan. The plan was to rescue Dina. Because Dina, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, when the fathers are talking to each other about the Bazra, about this Shidduch of trying to make it happen, when Hamor is telling Yaakov, let's make it happen, where was Dina all along? Was Dina there? We don't usually think about that. Where was Dina? Dina was actually not there. She was actually still in captivity. She was in the house, locked up. And Yaakov thought this was a rescue mission to rescue Dina. And then all of a sudden, all of a sudden they come and they kill Kol Ha'ir. Alken Arar Apam. So this is Operation Rescue Dina. But they took it too far when they killed the whole city, and therefore Arar Apam, he cursed their anger when they killed everyone. Now, there is an interesting halachic question here that the Rabbeinu Bachya is going to go into right now. Halachically, is that allowed, what they did? And you think about it. One man, he abuses your sister. Okay, that man's very bad. We should do whatever we have to do to that man. But what halachic leeway, right, allowance do the brothers have to kill all the other people? What did they do? We're talking about Yaakov's sons, and I'm sure they followed halacha. Halachically, is this allowed? Give it a couple of seconds, if you want to think about it. How is this justified? How do you kill a whole city? Again, Yaakov Avinu was not angry at them for breaking halacha. Yaakov doesn't say to them, you murderers. He doesn't say that. You know what he says to his kids at the end of the whole story? He says to them, it was a bad idea, because now everyone's going to get up and gang up upon us. But he has no halachic issue with what his sons do. And the question is why? Why is this allowed halachically? Why is it justified according to the law? Are you wiping out innocent people? Says Rabbeinu Bachya, the green light, Shematzu b'nei Yaakov, Shimon and Levi, the right that Shimon and Levi found, l'shpoch dam naki, to spill innocent blood. He quotes the Rambam. Katav Rambam, the Rambam's opinion of why was this allowed, and he writes it in his book, in the Mishneh. Lefi shebnei Noach nitztavu al sheva mitzvot. We know that the goyim, are obligated to keep 7 commandments, right? They're called the sheva mitzvot b'nei Noach. Quickly, what are the 7? Anyone know what are the 7? What are the 7 mitzvot that goyim have to keep? So it's the 3 cardinal sins of idolatry, adultery, and murder. And then it's Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled. Acronym. Aleph, Ever min ha'chai. They're not allowed to eat from a living animal. Even goyim cannot do that. Bet, blessing God, and I mean that in a euphemistic way. They're not allowed to bless Birkat Hashem. Gezel, theft, and Dalid is dinim. Says the Rambam, dinim is having a system of law, court system, justice system. Hadinim bechlalam. One of the 7 mitzvot that goyim have to keep is to have a proper system of rules. They have to have a civilized society. What the rules are, they can make up, but they have to have a set of rules. Uben Noach she'avar veganav o gazal o anaz bito. Now when a Noahide goes and kidnaps and steals and rapes, or pitaota, or even seduces, chayav mita b'saif. Within their own law, Shechem should have been killed. Shechem, in their own society, should have been brought to court for doing this. You're not allowed to kidnap a person and then rape her and abuse her and seduce her. וכן הרואה אחד שעבר על אחת מהן ולא דנהו להורגו, הרי זה הרואה יהרג בסייף. Not only that, but if someone was standing witness to all of this and saw what was going on, he would be obligated to interfere. And if he didn't, then he's also liable for punishment. He's also guilty. It says that Rambam, if that's the case, Maimonides says, now we understand why the entire city is guilty. Gazal, because this is what Shechem did. He stole, ve'anas, raped. Ve'hem ra'u, and they saw it, ve'yada'u, and they knew it, ve'lo danu. You know why the whole city of Shechem is guilty? And by the way, it's don't confuse the name of Shechem, the son, with the whole city. He named the city after his son. So the whole city of Shechem is guilty for not bringing the son Shechem into court. By letting it go, they're now all liable to get killed. They're all chayav mitah. That's the halachic permission that the sons of Yaakov, Shimon and Levi found to kill the entire city, because they're chayav mitah for not judging Shechem. Unbelievable. Aval, says Rabbeinu Bachya, however, the Ramban Nachmanides disagrees. Nachmanides disagrees. What does he say? Lo yitachen lomar ken. He says he can't say that. Lefi she'en hadavar masur leYaakov ulbanav la'asot bahen din. He says even if you're right, Rambam, that the people of Shechem should have conducted a hearing, even if you're right that they should have and they didn't, but that's not the business of Shimon and Levi to now judge them for. You understand? Meaning it's not their place. They can't just come and say, oh, you guys didn't do a hearing, now we're going to kill you. Rather, says the Ramban, he says the people of Shechem were guilty not for not passing judgment on Shechem. They were guilty because they're guilty. In general, they were guilty because the whole city is filled with idol worship and with arayot. And therefore, anyways, they're chayav mitah. And anyways, they're liable for death. They anyways have a red target on them. And they're anyways a dead man walking. Okay, that's what Rabbeinu Bachya over here says. Well, just to close with one final piece. Interesting, again, just nice thoughts from Rabbeinu Bachya. Things that you wouldn't necessarily hear in a Shabbat sermon, but it gives you an understanding into the Perashah. So look what he says. He says, on the third day, when they were in a lot of pain. Look at this, my friends, unbelievable, Rabbeinu Bachya. We know, according to science, he says, every third is weak. Always the number 3 is weak. Whether it's the third day after giving birth, or or the third day of creation. Look at this. You won't find this anywhere else. He says the third day is under the influence of the planet Mars. Ma'adim. Ma'adim Adom, red, Mars. Always the third is Mars, is bad luck. Always the pain on the third day is the hardest. That's why, by the way, a person, I think this is the reason, a person only says Hagomel if they were in bed for 3 days. Because then you experience day 3, which is the hardest day. If you're only in bed for 2 days, you don't say Hagomel, you're not considered sick. It's the third day that matters. And the third day of the Milah is the most painful. Avraham Avinu, right? Avraham Avinu, it was the third day of his Milah that he was in pain, that he was sitting outside. Even halachically, my friends, You're allowed to do on the third day. If it falls out on Shabbat, you could break Shabbat, the third day of the Milah. Usually, we don't break a Shabbat, but the third day for a baby you could. Third day of the Milah, because it's the most dangerous. Again, he's just proving his point. Because it's the most dangerous of all the days. The experts of astronomy, the third day has the mazal, the influence of the horoscope akrav, which is Cancer. Umalko, and it's under the angel of Samech Mem. Samech Mem. We don't say the name. Samech Mem. Okay? And again, I don't understand this stuff. Past my pay grade, but I'm just reading to you what he writes. Shareto Ma'adim. And the personal servant of Samech Mem is Mars. Okay? So for all the people who are trying to go to Mars, I don't know if it's a good idea. Then we should show them this Rabbeinu Bachye. They should sign this Rabbeinu Bachye, sign a waiver before going to travel to Mars. But either way, he says Mars is the third, very bad. Umize Amru Razal. That's why, listen to this, Masechet Ta'anit. People would never fast on a Sunday. Why? Because it's the third day of the creation of man. Man was born what day of the week? Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So people don't fast on Sundays because it's a bad day. It's the third day. It's the weakest day. Perush liyetzirat adam harishon shenevra bashishi. And that's why he says, Veze ta'am. Listen to this. Unbelievable. Veze ta'am birkat atzei besamim. What do you do when Sunday begins? Which according to our calendar, the day begins at night, Pavor. So really Sunday begins on Saturday night. What's the first thing you do on Saturday night? Besamim. You smell the besamim. Why? You thought it had to do with Shabbat. Says Rabbeinu Bachye, no. Because now it's the third day of creation. Now it's Sunday. It's the third day from when man was created. Kedele hazek koach hanefesh hasichlit bereach tov. We're trying to awaken and strengthen our spiritual selves by means of a pleasant fragrance. Wild stuff. Again, the normal reason that's given of why you smell besamim is because the neshama that you had extra left. So you want to strengthen the neshama that remains. Rabbeinu Bachye here is saying, well, maybe, but also I'll give you another reason. You want to smell something good because it's the third day of creation of man. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And now man is the third, it's weak. In general, all threes are weak. Fantastic stuff. And finally, one last piece. Vayikhu shnei bnei Yaakov, Shimon and Levi. The two sons of Yaakov, Shimon and Levi, they come and wipe out the entire city. Now, how old are Shimon and Levi when this happened? Anyone know? How old are Shimon and Levi? How old would you guess? Right? I mean, the way things worked back then, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 4 or 5 years old, But look at what Rabbeinu Bachye calculates over here. It's not a guess, it's a calculation. It's very simple. Min haktuvim, from these verses, if you read the text carefully, Yesh lanu lilmod kama shanim hayu lahem kshe'harivu Shechem. We can learn how old they were. Yadua, first of all, we know Yaakov haya bebet Lavan 20 shana. Yaakov was in Lavan's house for 20 years. 14 years working for the two wives, and then 6 years working for money. Ve'ahar sheva shanim, and after the 7 years that he worked for Rachel, so let's go in order. He worked for 7 years for Rachel, and then that night, instead of marrying Rachel, he married Leah. Leah gave birth to Reuven 7 months later. So that's already in the 7th, right? In the 8th year already. We're in the 8th year. And then Shimon was born after 7 months from there. So when Yaakov leaves Lavan's house, meaning he's saying even the oldest, even if she had as fast as a pregnancy as possible, 7 months, and then another 7 months for Shimon. So when he leaves 14 years later, minus 14 months, so Shimon is 12 years minus 2 months. That's the math. He's almost 12 years old. Then he stayed in Sukkot for 18 months, and then he came to Shechem. So Shimon is 13 and 4 months old. And Levi, the next brother, is 12 years and 9 months old. Vekarana katuv ish. So you see over here, according to the calculation, Shimon and Levi are around 13 years old, and the pasuk calls them an ish. By the way, that's where we know a hint that a boy turns bar mitzvah at 13. Where does that come from? How do you know that he becomes an ish at 13? Right here. Because the pasuk calls them an ish. And they were 13 years old. So this is the end of Rabbeinu Bachia on this pasuk. And it's just interesting stuff, a lot of ideas. We'll stop over here, everyone. Hope you have an amazing, amazing day. And God willing, we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.